Good afternoon. I trust everyone is well. My name is Charles Scott. Welcome, and thank you for allowing the time to join us today for the first of this three-part Civil Designer Software version 9.0 launch mini-series. The next two webinars in this series will take place on the 10th of April, which will be the release date of version 9.0, and the 8th of May, planned as a client Q&A webinar. As attendees of this webinar series, we will directly email you the version 9.0 download link on the 10th of April after the webinar. The new Civil Designer version 9.0 includes over 120 new features and functions, mainly emanating from our industry partner software developmental program and future feature requests we have received via our various support channels. Please allow me this opportunity to sincerely thank everyone who have contributed to the development of the new Civil Designer version 9.0. In today's Build Up webinar, Cameron Boyle, our support manager, will be introducing the version 9.0 highlights included in our user platform base module, the Design Center module, and the add-on CAD Pro module. Next week, Wednesday, for the release webinar, Cameron will be joined by our colleague, Andrew Cole, where both will introduce highlights from our earthworks, roads, stormwater, file water, potable pressurized water, signage, and turn modules. During Cameron's presentation today, please feel free to use the text chat service on your GoToWebinar app or web page to ask us any questions you may have during his time. After today's webinar, we'll post a video copy on our website in the webinar section. So, good afternoon again, Cameron, and please take it away.
Thank you, Charles. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. As Charles just mentioned, we are super excited to be showing you the new Civil Designer version 9 CAD and Design Center functionality. Today I'm going to be showing you just over 20 new functions. In front of us, I have a 40 megabyte CAD drawing. Attached to it is a 25 gig image. In the control center, I'm going to turn off the photo so I can ask Civil Designer to generate a new one for us at a later stage using our new BIM Maps functionality. Then at the bottom, I'm then going to select the Drawing tab. And for the first time, you'll see there's an option of groups. When you select that, the groups are listed to the right of that. You can go and right-click and select Highlight. Some additional options is to click on Select, which I'll do shortly. Select Add to Group, and in that case, you can select entities that you want included in the group. In a similar manner, I can go back here, right-click, Remove from Group, and select the entities individually. If you select Ungroup, all entities will be removed from the group. At the same time, the group will be removed. You have the option to delete, and be careful of that because it deletes all the entities associated to that group. And then you have the option to rename. If you've made a mistake and you need to go and rename your group, you can do so. Reverting back to that selected option, I'm going to select a different drawing. I'm going to go to the group, right-click, and select Select. In that case, it goes and zooms into the group. It highlights it. And with Civil Designer version 9, you are able to right-click and select Render Selected. In that case, only what you've selected is rendered. Reverting back to our original drawing, if I go and right-click and select Select, with it selected, I can right-click and select Properties. And in my Properties bar, the group is subdivided into the different entities, where you still have the group options. In addition to all of that, if I go to Tools, select Groups, we've added some of my previously mentioned functionality over here. Done with groups. While I'm here, might as well show you the Xref Manager. Within the newer version, you have the option to select Refresh All. whereas in the older version you had to unload all and then load all. Let me show you how this all works. I've already gone and put in Xrefs associated with the drawing. Looking at the bottom, the file extension is all DR5. We've made it easy for you to convert your DR4s to DR5. Showing you that, if I close there, I go to File, Batch Conversion, DR4 to DR5. You would go and select the folder where your drawings are, click on OK, and it converts the DR4 files to a DR5 file. Then go and open up one of the Xrefs. And they make changes to the Xref, showing you different functions. Then you'll see the new Xref notification in action. First of all, I'm going to go and put in some lines here. In version 9, if you are in the main menu, then you have a command search. If you're not in the main menu and you want that command search, you can go and right click and select command search. If I want to draw in lines, I type in line. That function will appear, so I don't have to go to the menu and search for it. At the same time, before I do this, I'm going to go to Settings, System Settings, Visual Indicators on the left-hand side, and then select Enable Live Measure. This setting applies to most of the draw functions that include distances and angles. See how it all works, and then click on OK. Going back to the line functionality, and then press Enter. Reading my prompt, it says indicate start point of line. On the left click, as I move my cursor, look at the length and the angle of the line. This is a Cartesian drawing, so 0 point is at 3 o'clock and it's measured in an anti-clockwise direction. Put in another line and then right click in to quit. I now want to go and fillet this corner using my cursor as a reference to the fillet radius. Moving to modify, selecting fillet. I'm going to use a radius mode of through point. Click on the two lines of interest. And as I magnify in, the fillet arc follows my cursor position. Happy with the result, right click quit. I want to now go and save this Xref. Once I've saved it, look what happens to the tab on the bottom right of our screen where it says data current. So I'm going to go and close this and save it. This notification will appear and you can go to Windows settings and change the notification settings. I'm going to go and close this. This tab still written in red says data old. If I go and click on it, I can go and refresh the Xref. And I'll go into a lot more detail as far as this is concerned a bit later. But if I go and place my cursor here, this indicates the position or the location of the Xref. I'm then cancel it here. And then I'm then go to Tools, Xref Manager, looking at the notification over there. In earlier versions of Civil Designer, you had to unload and then load. In this case, you select refresh all, and all those Xrefs that needed a refresh are then refreshed. Closing that and pressing escape. We've also added geometry divide equally functionality to ellipse entities. To show you that, I'm going to go to a different part of my project. I'm going to go to geometry divide equally. You have the option of either specifying number of segments or the segment length. With the number of segments, I'm then going to specify 7. Click on the green tick and then click on my ellipse. There are now 7 equally divided segments on our ellipse. Pressing escape, press Ctrl Z to undo. Going back to the function, I'm going to press spacebar, change the division mode to segment length. And I've specifically chosen 37 here for explanation purposes. Clicking on the green tick, selecting the ellipse, right click and quit. To explain it, I'm going to select the ellipse. The vertex starts over here. This will all have the same segment length. It's just this last option that doesn't. Changing my zoom view. In version 9, we've added the option to select a vertex. And this is applicable not only to polylines, but to terrain strings, multi-lines, splines, and meshes as well. I'm going to take my cursor and select the polyline. Perhaps you worked with this before, where if you need to go and edit a vertex, you weren't quite sure what the number of the vertex was. So you had the option of browsing through the different numbers of vertices. Or what you could do is double click, go and specify a vertex number, press enter, and then hope that you've selected the right number. In version 9, we give you the option to select vertex. You no longer have to guess what vertex number to use. You can simply go and select that vertex. With it selected, you can go to the properties and go and make changes to that particular vertex. When I started off today's webinar, I turned off that large image. Within the new functionality of version 9, you are able to create an image using BIM maps. After I've shown you that, I'll also show you how to create a grid file from BIM maps. Before you bring in an image, it's probably a good idea to go and create a particular layer for it. I'll add a layer here called Bing, and then make it the current layer. I'll then go to Insert on top. There's now an option for Bing Maps Aerial Image. Reading my prompt, position screen for approximate image coverage, and press Enter. So I'm going to press Enter. If you haven't already gone and set up your projection settings, Civil Designer will automatically bring up this dialog box. You need to go and specify where in the world your project is situated. This project is set up in Cape Town. The projection settings are correct, so I click on OK. Specify where you want to save the image. And it gives us a generous amount of image that we could then utilize. Because it's on its own layer, you could then go and turn off the layer. Instead, I'm going to go and select it and delete it. With the next function, we want a grid file that we obtain from Bing. I wouldn't base my final design on these elevations, but for preliminary project purposes or for tender purposes, when you don't quite have the time and the resources to go out on site and do a survey, it's an ideal function. You go to your survey mode first, set up your projection settings. We select a terrain option here first. I've already created a terrain file to save us time. Ensure that your projection settings is set up for your project. Click on OK. Then go to your terrain mode, terrain menu, and select point grid. Specify you want point heights via Bing Maps. Specify on what surface you want the grid on, what your horizontal spacing and vertical spacing should be, and then click on OK. Reading my prompt, it says enter first point of grid rectangle. I'm going to go and specify the first point. The grid will be generated from this corner. And then moving my cursor down somewhat, left click. If you want all the points listed in your output bar here on the right, you can switch on your screen output. To save me time, I'm going to switch that off. Click on OK. Civil Designer will then generate the grid points. Having obtained the grid file from Bing Maps, I'm just going to turn on my elevations here and zoom in so that you can see what it looks like. You are able to generate your contours. Beforehand, I need to go and triangulate. So I go to Model, Triangulate in Memory, specify maximum line length, click on OK, and then turn on your contours. You can go to your display settings. I'm only working with the dynamic contours in this case. You can go and customize your own unconventional intervals if need be. You aren't limited to particular styles. Done with this project, I'm going to close it. No need to save it. Next up, I'm going to show you some 3D PDF plotting functionality with the new pen mappings. Before you bring in a 3D object, it may be a good idea to go to Settings, select View Settings, specify a particular draw order, and then switch on the option to fill the 3D faces and meshes. In order to bring in a 3D object, you go to your CAD mode, you go to File, Import, Import 3D Model. Specify where to find the 3D model. With selecting this OBJ file, it will include the subdivision meshes or MTL file and its associated multiple color of materials. Taking a look at that, I'm going to go and open it, specify which options I want, and then click on OK. To show you the 3D, I'm going to change my view axis to a southwest isometric. Looking at the different or the multiple color materials. We want to now go and plot this as a PDF. At the same time, I want to show you the pen mappings and the 3D PDF functionality. Before I can go and plot the layout, I need to create one first. I go to plot on top, select generate. I'm going to use the standard blank plan sheet file. Looking at the new file extension, we do have quite a bit of new functionality when it comes to plotting. I won't go into too much detail in this webinar. So I'm going to select the blank plan sheet file, specify my sheet size, create a layout, and then click on next. Specify my scale and my sheet size, then click on add again. Move my cursor to the center, left click, and no need to adjust the rotation. Happy with the result, right click, quit, and then click on finish. If I now go to plot and I select publish layout, I'm going to publish to PDF. I'm going to click on OK. Specify where I want to save this. As you can see, the dialog is new. And straight away, you can see we have the option to export a 3D PDF. Before we do that, I want to show you if you select the export as option and you change that to use print pen mapping and you select the pen mapping option, this is something that wasn't available in earlier versions. If I go and select load, You can either load a MAP file as well as an AutoCAD CTB file. If I select the CTB file, I can then go and save it as a MAP file. Canceling this, showing you that you're also able to use this functionality if you go to the Draw, File, Import, Export, Export to PDF. I'm just going to do the drawing. Click on OK. Specify where you want to save. Again, you have the option to use your pen mappings, but in this case, I want to show you the export to 3D PDF. Click on OK to that. It's being created. I'm then go to my Windows Explorer and open up the PDF. Grab in Acrobat from my other screen. The 3D model data in your drawing can be exported to a PDF file as embedded PRC data. When you open this PDF in Acrobat, you'll be able to view and rotate the 3D model. The 3D model in the exported PDF will only be visible in a PDF viewer that supports PRC content. Closing that and returning back to Civil Designer. I'm going to move on to the next project. I called this project Converted Project. It was a project that I used in one of the FAQ videos on how to convert Civil Designer 8.5 project to a version 9 project. So if you want to see more of that, we're a bit limited with time today, so you can visit our website, go to our FAQ page and search for Convert Project. A bit earlier, I mentioned that if you go to the main toolbar here, you have the option to have the command search. If, for instance, you're in another toolbar and you want that command search, you can go and right click and select command search. If I go to the sewer mode and I do that, and I type in the word node, because I'm in the sewer module, or the sewer node functionality appears first. Recent commands are listed higher up in the order. Then you've got the other different modules, and then listed at the bottom here, the options with the asterisk are tooltip functions found on the bottom left of your screen. So they normally appear here on the bottom left. This is more part of your design center functionality. I'm going to go and plot this next. When you plot in version 9, you are able to create a text file of the tables. Let's do that next. I'm going to go to plot, select generate, specify which customizable sheet file I would like to use, specify my scale. I'm going to define my plot, moving my cursor. No need to rotate it. Right click and quit. Click on next. I've opted here to use a water list. That is going to be a table of my water schedule with the manholes. In version 9, and this will be applicable to all your modules, you're able to select the table. You can right click and ungroup the table, select it again, and there is now an option to export the data. When you go and select that, you can go and save the data as a text file or an Excel file. Returning back to the drawing or the design. We now allow the end user to save the current project to a CAD drawing without having to plot or publish it first. This is simply done by going to your CAD mode, selecting File, Save Options, Save Editable. Specify where you'd like to go and save it. It will then be saved as a CAD drawing. Taking a look at what that looks like, if we go to File, Open, select that drawing, as I go and select the DTM, looking at the properties, it's recognized as a 3D face. Closing the drawing, returning back to where we were before. In previous versions, when you wanted to share your auxiliary services, you had to go to, let's say, the roads in this case, go to auxiliary services, go to auxiliary service editor, and then you right click here to write a CSV file, give that to your colleague, and your colleague could then read the CSV file. We've made it easier in version 9 to share your auxiliary services. What you could do now is you could go and select your auxiliary services. I'm going to the CAD mode, I'm going to edit, select by filter quick, selecting specified entities, auxiliary service entity, click on OK. With it selected, I can then go to File, Save Options, Save Selected, and then select it as a drawing on its own. The objective is to use this drawing then as an Xref that won't be editable, but you could still use it to check for clashes. Click on Save. With that seen as a drawing, I'm just going to press Escape. I can go to my CAD mode. I go to Tools, Xref Manager, select Add, click on that auxiliary drawing, and then close that. If I go to, for instance, my display settings, and I select auxiliary service, that Xref is now seen as an auxiliary service. At the same time, if I go back to auxiliary services and I go and select auxiliary service, those Xref options are now also available here at the bottom, making it easier for you to be able to share the auxiliary services with your colleagues. You're also able to export stormwater catchments as an IFC file, which you couldn't do in earlier versions. To quickly show you that, I'm going back to my CAD. I'm going to File, Import, Export, Export to IFC. There's the additional functionality, so you could go and switch on stormwater subcatchments. With that selected, if I go to IFC properties, I can go and select stormwater subcatchment. I can go to the name, right click here and add my own additional information if need be. Having done all of that, I'm going to show you what it looks like in BIM Vision, which is available for free download. Taking BIM Vision and putting it on my screen there. Go to File, Open, and then select the file that I created with the stormwater catchments. It's changing the types, turning off what we don't need, and then zooming into the stormwater catchments. Looks like the catchments are walls. If I go and select that catchment, the information associated with that catchment is available to us, including your catchment areas and paved lengths. As well, in version 9 is the option to import IFC files. If I go to File, New, File, Import, IFC file, select the one that we've just looked at, and then press Zoom All on my keyboard. That is the stormwater catchments that I've just imported, and they are recognized as polyface meshes. Closing that, no need to save it. One of the very powerful functions of the new version 9 is the ability to share files on a network. If you go to your project settings, in version 8, I think you only had a read-only option here for your terrain file, whereas in version 9, that is applicable to all the modules. And I'm going to show you how this functionality works. On another laptop, I've gone and opened up a project that's on a network. I'm going to access those files within this project. So I'm looking at the terrain file, specifying where I can go and find the terrain file that's shared on the network. Once you've gone and selected, this option of read only becomes active. I can go and say I only want to read only file. If I don't activate it and I click on OK here, then Civil Designer will inform me that it's in use by somebody else. Do I want to use the read only file? If I say no, it doesn't include that module, but I'll take you through that process. Remember that the terrain and the roads are linked together. In addition to that, I'm also going to use the water file, where on the other project, I'm then going to put in house connections so that you can see how it automatically updates my current project. Same thing. Selecting read only. Clicking on OK. It then goes and copies the applicable work files. I get confirmation that the road file is locked by another user. Do I want to open the file as a read only? So if I click on yes, it means that I'm bringing in the road files, but I can't make changes to them, but I can view them. Or if I go and select no here, it would then exclude the road files. I'm then click on no to exclude them. On the bottom right of my screen, I'm then going to select data current. This shows me the current modules that I've got and whether they are read-only or writable. I'm then going to close that. Then I'm then go to my projects where I've got, let's call it the original terrain file and the original water file. I'm then make changes to that. And then we'd only see how Civil Designer will notify us of those changes. So looking at my other laptop, which unfortunately you can't see on your screen, I'm then going to make changes to the terrain file. But before I do that, I'm going to change my zoom view. Remember that I've turned off the roads, so you won't see the roads now. But what you are looking at is the survey, and you'll see there's going to be an update over here, as well as the water network. I think I'm going to go to my display settings. I'm going to turn off the stormwater, the sewer if it's on. Yes, it's on. And then perhaps the auxiliary services that we were working with earlier. Okay, then we can focus in on the water and the survey. On the other laptop or the other project, I'm then going to edit the surveyed point. So on the other project, I go to terrain, edit a surveyed point. Then I'm then go to the water network and I'm going to put in automatic house connections. I've made the applicable changes to the other project. I'm now going to go and save them. Once I save them, look at the notification bar on the bottom right of our screen, and please note that your Windows settings must allow these notifications to come through if you want to see them. So in the other project, I'm going to go to File and I'm going to select Save. On the other laptop, it's busy saving the project. Once the save is done, on the bottom right of our screen, the data current icon will be written in red and a pop-up notification will alert us. It may be a good idea before I make changes to go and turn on my contours so we can see how the change affects our project. There's the notification. If you select the notification now, we are informed that there's a change to the terrain file and the water file. If I hover my cursor over, let's say, the terrain file, we are informed of the path where you can find the original file. We also have information as to who changed the module and at what time. Because I selected the notification pop-up option, we have chosen not to make the refresh all icon active just yet, because it may be that the other project is still in the process of saving. So instead, if I click on cancel, look what happens to that data old there. It now becomes red. So if I go and select that, the refresh all option becomes active. Once I click on refresh all, what should happen then is my contour display should be updated here with the new DTM or surveyed point height. And then we'll also have these additional water house connections. My project's been updated with additional water house connections, and then looking at my contour setting, indicating a change in the DTM elevation. Pretty much all the time we have for today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed seeing the new functionality as much as I did putting it together for you. Until next time, cheers for now. Back to you, Charles.
Thank you very much, Cameron. That was great. And more importantly, thank you very much to all of you who attended today's first version 9.0 launch webinar. Please join us next week, Wednesday, at the same time and place being the same link, for the official launch webinar, whereafter we will directly email the download link to all attendees. Should you require any further information with regards to today's demonstration, please use the email address listed on your screens right now. Please also visit our website and follow our Civil Designer Software Company LinkedIn page if you have not done so already. Once again, thank you very much for your time today. See you next week, Wednesday. Have a great afternoon and goodbye for now.